Good day, sir. Today we're going to report about the Chapter 2 of Research Design on Criswell's boson on qualitative, quantitative, and mixed method approaches. This chapter continues the discussion about preliminary consideration before launching into a proposal. It begins with discussion about selecting a topic and writing this topic down so that the researcher can continually reflect on it. At this point, researchers also need to consider whether the topic can and should be researched. Then the discussion moves into the actual process of reviewing the literature, addressing the general purposes for using literature in a study, and then turning to principles helpful in designing a literature into qualitative, quantitative, and mixed method studies. Analytic contents of research techniques. Chapter 2. Review of the literature. How to assess whether your topic is researchable. The steps in conducting a literature review. Computerized databases available for reviewing the literature. Review of the literature. It is important to extensively review the literature on your topic before you design your proposal. Thus, you need to begin with a researchable topic and then explore the literature using the step advanced in this chapter. Be considering what literature to use in a project. First, identify a topic to study and reflect on whether it is practical and useful to undertake the study. The topic is the subject or subject matter of a proposed study, such as faculty teaching, organizational creativity, or psychological stress. Describe the topic in a few words or in a short phrase, and the topic becomes the central idea to learn about or to explore. Several ways that researchers gain some insight into their topics. Topic is chosen by the researcher and not by an advisor or a committee member. Draft a brief title to the study. How would this working title be written? Try completing this sentence. My study is about. At this stage in the design, frame the answer to the question so that another scholar might easily grasp the meaning of the project. A common shortcoming of beginning researchers is that they frame their study in complex and eroded language. Research project must begin with straightforward, uncomplicated thoughts, easy to read and to understand. According to Wilkinson 1991, be brief and avoid wasting words. He also considered a title no longer 12 words. Also eliminate unnecessary words such as an approach to, a study of, and so forth. Use a single or double title, example, an ethnography, understanding a child's perception of war. Another strategy for the topic development is to pose the topic as a brief question. When drafting questions, focus on the key topic in the question as the major signpost for the study. Actively elevating this topic to a research study calls for reflecting on whether the topic can and should be researched. All researchers should consider how the study and its heavy commitment of time will pay off in enhancing career goals, whether these goals relate to doing more research, obtaining a future position, or advancing toward a degree. The literature review accomplishes several purposes. It shares with the reader the result of the other studies that are closely related to the one being undertaken. Literature review might run from 20 to 60 pages or so. Regardless of the form, another consideration is how the literature might be reviewed, depending on whether a qualitative, quantitative, or mixed method approach has been selected. The literature review in a journal articles is an abbreviated form of the found in a dissertation or master's thesis. It typically contained in a section called Related Literature and follows the introduction to a study. This is the pattern for quantitative research articles in journal. For qualitative research articles, the literature review may be found in a separate section, including the introduction or threaded throughout the study. One of the chief reasons for conducting a qualitative study is that the study is exploratory. This usually means that not much has been written about the topic or the population being studied, and the researchers seek to listen to participants and build an understanding based on what is heard. As shown in Table 2.1, the research might include the literature review in the introduction. In this placement, the literature provides a useful backdrop for the problem or issue that has led to the need for the study, such as who has been writing about it, who has studied it, and who has indicated the importance of studying the issue. This framing of the problem is of course contingent on available studies. A second, a separate section, a model typically used in quantitative research, often found in journals with a quantitative orientation. Third, the researcher may incorporate the related literature in the final section, where it is used to compare and contrast with the result, or themes or categories to emerge from the study. Quantitative research, on the other hand, includes a substantial amount of literature at the beginning of a study to provide direction for the research question or hypothesis. It is also used to introduce a problem or to describe in detail the existing literature in a section titled Related Literature or Review of Literature, or some other similar phrase. At the end of the study, the literature is revisited by a researcher, and a comparison is made between the result with the existing findings in the literature. In this model, the quantitative researcher uses the literature deductively as a framework for the research questions or hypotheses. There are three forms that Copper 1984 suggested: integrative, theoretical, and methodological review. Integrative review. The researcher summarized broad themes in the literature. This model is popular in dissertation proposal and dissertations. Theoretical review. The researcher focuses on extant theory that relates to the problem under study. Methodological review. This research focuses on methods and definition. Suggestions for using the literature in planning a qualitative, quantitative, or mixed method study are as follows. In a qualitative study, use the literature sparingly in the beginning in order to convey an introductory design. In a quantitative study plan, use the literature to introduce the study, describe related literature in a separate section, and to compare findings. In a mixed method study, use the literature in a way that is consistent with a major type of strategy, and the qualitative or quantitative approach must prevalent in the design. A literature map of the research. This map is visual summary of the research that has been conducted by others, and it is typically represented in a figure. Maps are organized in different ways: hierarchical structure, flowchart, series of circles. When conducting a literature review, identify keywords for searching the literature. Search the online databases, then locate articles or books based on a priority. Group the studies into a literature map. Begin writing summaries of the studies and extracting information about the research that includes the research problem, the questions, the data collection and analysis, and the final result. This is Shiril Sulzberdahe reporting.